Yeah. Mrs. Sri Bhaskar, joined by Neha and my dear friends. In the second session here we are taking the important provisions of the clause 49. As Jane introduced, the clause 49 is one of the important tools in the hands of SEBI now. And though it is a part of listing agreement to be dictated by SEBI and what made by the stock exchanges. The recent version of the clause 49, it was notification was introduced somewhere in the month of April 2014. But the good part was that all the corporates were given a time and it has been implemented from the 1st of October. It was not that the notification is out and it is implemented from the next day. The way the example which was given by the earlier speaker. This clause 49 mandates the stock exchanges to set up a monetary cell, and this monetary cell shall ascertain the adequacy and accuracy of the disclosures made by the company. And not only this, they have to report the quality of such disclosures to SEBI on quarterly basis. And many more things, the clause 49 has been mandated, like for the auditors, board of directors, and so on. For this, we have with us Shailesh Bhai, who will take us to this. Before he begins, may I request Neha to introduce Shailesh Bhai.
Friends, Shailesh Bhai, chartered accountant by profession and a law graduate from Bombay University, has commenced his practice in 1979 and has been working for last 35 years in various fields of auditing, accounting, capital markets, M&As, corporate law. He is the senior most partner of SEBI and Associates Chartered Accountants. He's also been a treasurer of WRC, Institute of Chartered Accountants, and he's advised on large number of IPOs, M&As, transactions. He's been contributing to around 150 articles, and he's a director and an audit committee member on various listed and unlisted companies. So may I request Bhavesh Bhai to hand over the momentum to Shailesh Bhai. I'm sorry.
My privilege.
Shailesh, the floor is yours.
Friends, asked by Jain, seniors in the profession, and friends. Since time is less, I am straight going to the subject of clause 49 of listing agreement, analysis of important changes. Now, clause 49, as some of you may be aware, contains code of corporate governance for listed companies. Corporate governance has been currently hot because of a variety of reasons. And this new code actually raises the bar quite high, as we shall see some of the provisions. The corporate governance is the core of the board's existence. Any board without proper corporate governance cannot function, or that company will not function. For the longer life and for sustainable value, you need the corporate governance. That's what this code is trying to achieve. At the end of the lecture, we'll see whether it is achievable or not. But the buck stops at the board of directors, because beyond that there is no one in the company whom you can hold responsible. And only a good governance, ethical governance and efficient governance. There are companies which are efficient but not ethical. There are companies which are ethical but not efficient. It doesn't serve we must need a board and a company which is ethical as well as efficient. There are some boards that lead, like Infosys board. There are some boards of directors which are laggards. So this new clause is raising the bar in corporate governance post Satyam. We have seen, and there are internationally enrolled Parmalat, so many scandals came, we have seen. Indian case, classical Satyam, in spite of, and there was a large company having large investors, international investors, large audit firms, reputed independent directors, some of them on the board of ISB Hyderabad. Still, Satyam happened. There is no assurance that with this clause 49 Satyam will not happen, but I think a lot is being done to plug those loopholes. So now under the new law you will find increased accountability and responsibility of independent directors and so far, like in Satyam's case, when in a class litigation in the US against the independent directors of Satyam, court held that the independent directors themselves were victims of the management fraud. So independent directors also became victims. But now the responsibility is so much that the independent director can no longer take that step that I am myself a victim of the fraud. Of course, the clause 49 is under listing agreement. So it's after all a contract between the company and the stock exchange. So to that extent, clause 49 is slightly on lesser pedestal than a law. And now recently SEBI chairman has said that we will soon be bringing listing regulations rather than listing agreements, because regulations are designed directly by SEBI and they have more force of law than a listing agreement. Of course, violation of listing agreement also attracts large penalties. In one of recent case of India's very large company, we saw that SEBI there will be 13 crore penalty for the company who made mistakes in calculation of diluted earnings per share for 6 quarters continuous. That was arising from listing agreement, but penalty was levied by SEBI because SEBI has the power under SCRA and the SEBI. This court, the new revised clause 49, which is effective from 1st October 2014, has a new concept like principles of corporate governance. The court lays down certain principles. The independence of directors is now much greater. Duties are much more defined. Mobile directors are to be there. Evaluation mechanisms have come. Whistleblower policy, a new phenomenon. Risk management committee, approval to related party transactions by audit committees, nomination and remuneration committee, immunity to independent directors, and alignment with Companies Act. Because the Companies Act 2013 also brought so many new concepts. We will see some of those provisions how whether they aligned or not. But the history, if you see the evolution started in December. The governance is from day one when the companies were formed. We have companies like Cisco incorporated in 1907 with registration number as 1. So governance is at core. Somebody told me that if you go to Jamshedpur, every nook and corner of Jamshedpur you find the corporate governance. Not in the offices, in the nook and corner of Jamshedpur you find corporate governance. But in 95, CII set up a task force to design voluntary code of corporate. That was the first step. In 98, CII released a publication, Desirable Corporate Governance Report. In 99, SEBI set up Kumar Mangalam Birla Committee to formulate the code of corporate governance. In 2000, clause 49 was introduced in the listing agreement pursuant to Birla Committee. In 2002, Naresh Chandra Committee was set up on corporate audit and governance. So many things we are now seeing and actually facing auditors practicing as we saw day to day. The regulatory from the heat which is coming from Companies Act, also from SEBI Act, SEBI regulations, stock exchange is arising from certain events which happened as we all know. 2003 Narayana Murthy Committee was set up by SEBI to review clause 49. In 2004, clause 49 was modified SEBI under a master circular for including Narayana Murthy's recommendation. In 2005 was the deadline for compliance with clause 49. And we have seen the major clause 49 till then. 2008 there were some amendments. In between there came some amendments. And now what we are going to discuss today, 17th April 2014, SEBI revised clause, now we'll call it revised clause 49, by master circular suspending all other earlier circulars on clause 49. So there are a series of circulars. Now this one is a master circular. It introduced on 17 February 2014. The number is given there. But again in 15 September, clause 49 was amended by SEBI to incorporate certain issues arising from Companies Act. So revised clause 49 of listing agreement applies to, of course it is applicable from 1st October 2004, so it is now on. It applies to all the listed companies but not mandatory for the time being for companies having paid up equity share capital not exceeding rupees 10 crores and net worth not exceeding rupees 25 crores. Somebody asked me, are there any such companies? There are many such companies on Bombay Stock Exchange whose net worth is not 25 crores or whose capital is not 10. And the condition says and companies which are listed on SME exchange. Earlier, SME also required a corporate governance compliance, and that was a deterrent because for a small company, the compliance cost was too high. But this one, and the red type, the blue one is the original April amendment, the red one is the September amendment. The black one is the original report. So, whenever you see this, you will find the red one came because SEBI recently amended that this will not apply to SMEs and smaller companies. Otherwise, the clause, original April 2014 code never gave an exception to these companies. Now, just an overview of revised clause 49. It is 11 main clause and one annexure. We'll see all those clauses time permitting. The first clause is saying the principles. So far there were no principles in the original clause 49. What are those principles? That means principles of corporate governance. Now they are first time laid down. Second relates to board of directors and its composition. Third is relating to audit committee. Fourth is nomination and remuneration committee. This is a new provision. 5 is subsidiary companies, anything new there. 6 is risk management, again a new provision. 7 is related party transactions, currently hotly debated this topic and a lot of new things there. 8 is disclosure with not many new things. 9 is CEO, CFO certification for compliance. 10 is report on corporate governance. 10 is compliance certificate by chartered accountant or company secretary. And annexure is for non-mandatory requirements because 11 clause 1 to 11 are mandatory requirements. There are some which are non-mandatory requirements. So clause 49(1) starts with this, that the company agrees, because it's an agreement, listing agreement. So clause 49 is a one clause of the total agreement, which is many clauses, clause 35, clause 41, celebrated clause. Clause 49 says the company agrees to comply with the following provisions. The black one was already there. What is added is blue one of clause 49, which will be implemented in a manner so as to achieve the objectives of the principles as mentioned below. So the implementation of revised clause 49 has to be implemented as per the principles as mentioned below. We will see those principles. And in case of ambiguity, means there is interpretation problem, the said provisions shall be interpreted and applied in alignment with the principles. So any problem you see what are the principles and then accordingly you decide, because a lot of issues will come in implementation. So, but 49(1) has four major principles. First principle is rights of shareholders. Second is role of stakeholders. Stakeholders, as you know, is different from shareholders and larger portion in corporate governance. Third principle is disclosure and transparency. And fourth is responsibility of the board. These are mandatory requirements, please understand. These principles raise the bar now for compliance. Never the principles were earlier mentioned in clause. So we all know that there is something like governance, we have some our own ethical values, but this is now codified. 49.1a, right of shareholders. And the principle is the company should seek to support and facilitate exercise of shareholder rights. So many times we have seen that the company and shareholders are at loggerheads because of the fight between shareholders. Here the principle says the company has to should seek to protect and facilitate exercise of shareholder rights And then it goes on detailing further, which I have not included here. There are sub-principles A to H, referring to right to participate to the shareholders, right to be sufficiently informed to the shareholders, right to vote, right to know voting procedures, right to redress grievances, minority protection, etc. come under that. First, company should seek to protect. 2. Company should provide adequate and timely information to staff. Adequate and timely, both. Regarding date, location, agenda of general meetings, capital structure and arrangement that give disproportionate control. Now this disproportionate control is because there are some agreements, some arrangement, some structures where some shareholders have special rights than others. So all shareholders should know them. And regarding the right attached to all series and class of shares, like you have class 1 shares, class B shares or reference shareholders. So companies should provide adequate and timely. I have seen in many companies, in my experience, as investor keeps on writing, company, he applies, no reply. Today investor can take under this clause that you are bound to give me reply. So many companies do give, so many companies don't give. Some company gives partially. So now it is, company has agreed to the extent that we will give this. Because amendment to clause 49 is automatic. It's not that company again signs every time the agreement is amended. When company signed for the first time, that time only it is agreed that any amendment brought in by exchange or regulator will be bound, will be binding on the company. So every time exchange amends or SEBI amends, company doesn't have to sign, it is now bound by it. As long as it is listed company. Ensure equitable treatment to all shareholders, including minority and foreign shareholders. Minorities are actually so far not on the horizon under Indian context. Now, of course, for the first time, SEBI is trying to say that they must have equal treatment. By equal treatment, what we mean is not that he will get, of course, what is one for one share, that way he will always get equal treatment, but in terms of his voice, in terms of exercise of voting rights facilitating to them, all shareholders of a same series of a class should be treated equally. Exercise of voting rights by foreign shareholders should be facilitated. Now for the first time, because we have e-voting, a foreign shareholder can also vote, sitting abroad, wherever he is, but up to now it was very difficult. And some companies will hold AGM at a remote place where the registered office is on a factory. A small shareholder, of course, cannot reach there. Even a large shareholder, for him to reach to that factory place is very difficult. Procedures for shareholder meeting should allow for equitable treatment of all shareholders. So now with e-voting, I think everybody can vote. And a big advance. And by SEBI amended clause 49 also amended clause 35B, which is not today's discussion, but 35B gives the e-voting rights, e-voting obligation on a company. Company procedures should not make it unduly difficult or expensive to cast votes. Now if you have net connection, I think it's not at all costly to just go on the net, go on the site, cast your vote. So that was the first principle. The second principle was role of stakeholders in corporate governance. First one was role shareholders, this is stakeholders. So the company should recognize the rights of stakeholders and encourage cooperation between company and the stakeholders. Now stakeholders are, of course, now besides shareholders, we have debenture holders, we have fixed deposit holders, we have preference shareholders, we have employees, we have creditors, suppliers. Rights of stakeholders to be respected. Now this is very good in writing, how the rights of stakeholders will be respected. What it all again depends on that company's board's mind, the culture of that company. Shareholders to have opportunity for effective redress, stakeholders to have opportunity for effective redress for violation of their rights. Encourage mechanism for employee participation. Now how to encourage? Not clear. Can you make an employee on board? No company will do it, except few very reputed companies. Shareholders should have access to relevant, sufficient and reliable information. That's where the audit profession comes. We have to supply, because company supplies to us relevant, sufficient and reliable information timely and regularly to participate in corporate governance process and devise an effective whistleblower mechanism, enabling stakeholders, including individual employees and their representative bodies, to freely communicate their concerns about illegal and unethical practices in the company. This is a very big thing. This whistleblower mechanism, as you will see, just as RTI came and RTI has made so many changes. This whistleblower mechanism may be misused also because some employees who are disgruntled may take a disadvantage of this, but by and large, this whistleblower mechanism will really set the processes. What happened in the classic case of Renbeck C? Because in the US, this was quite common, and a past employee blew the whistle about the procedures and practices happening in that company. And of course, he got 50 million because that was the reward which was available in that person. But the company is saddled with about more than $1 billion fines. So that is the impact, and that will soon come in India. And hats off SEBI that it was there whistleblower mechanism earlier as a non-mandatory provision under Code of SEBI. But revised clause 49 now makes it compulsory. Third principle was disclosure and transparency. Just see how much regulator wants and how difficult for the companies is going to be if they want to actually implement in letter and in spirit. Although I believe it can be done, but the mindset of Indian promoters we have not reached to that level. And we have, out of 6,000 listed companies, we have say top 100 companies, 30 Sensex companies, top 100 companies, another 300, 400, 500 big companies covering 50% of market cap. And then there are 5,500 other companies who are mid cap, smaller mid cap, middle mid cap, higher mid caps. For them to do this, companies should ensure timely and accurate disclosure on all material matters, including the financial situation, performance, ownership, and governance of the company. I talk to many clients who are mid caps, not on this because this subject has not yet got into there. They are already working, but I think the business is first for them, governance is last. So I think the whole mindset will have to change. Otherwise, they are going to find it very difficult, and regulator, as SEBI and rightly so, has come up very heavily after so many companies. But the companies will take time, need time. Information should be prepared and disclosed as per prescribed standards on accounting, financial and non-financial, which of course all companies and all chartered accountants do it. Channels for disseminating information should provide for equal, timely, cost-effective access to relevant information. Some companies give information to some people at a time. So, like if you have analyst conference, then analyst gets the information, other shareholders don't get. That is not permitted. That cannot be done. Of course, so immediately after the analyst conference, the good companies now put the transcript on the website and file with the exchange. So that everybody knows. Otherwise, you come to a CNBC on an interview and give some information. Some media interview, the director gives some information. Some shareholders have the idea. No, that will not be permitted. Maintain minutes of the meeting, explicitly recording dissenting opinions. In the board of a company, dissenting opinions do come, but they never travel into minutes. Now the companies and the board make it mandatory that dissenting opinions have to be recorded. Implement the prescribed accounting standards in letter and spirit. In preparation of financial statements, considering interest of all stakeholders and ensure that annual audit is conducted by an independent, competent and qualified auditor. You have to be independent, you have to be competent, you have to be qualified auditor. And that's responsibility on the board and audit committee that yes, because auditor's independence is a big challenge now. As you know, under companies like auditor independence itself is a big question. His competence is not denied and he is qualified. So, here is a typical board of directors, but whether is your company's board of directors creating value or destroying it, it will depend. Most companies, the performance when they go down, It's the board which is responsible. There are externals also, not always the board. But externals nobody has control, but internals control, right from setting the culture depends on the board. And clause 49 tries to actually do that. So in fourth, it lays responsibility on the board. First, disclosure of information. Directors and key executives to disclose whether they directly or indirectly or on behalf of third party, on behalf of third parties also, have a material interest in any transaction or method directly affecting the company. So many boards I have seen that information have not come. Now, of course, earlier companies law provided in a very classic recent case which happened for a very large listed company. Also, a similar situation happened when promoters purchased a lot of properties from company purchased from promoters. That fact was not properly disclosed. Meet expectations of operational transparency versus mind. See, the responsibility of board is while operational transparency has to be there to employees, information, free flow at the same time, maintain confidentiality of company details to foster a culture of good decision making. And then it goes describe key functions of the board. Now, never the functions of the board. But there are 9, I am not detailing, 9 key functions have been now given in the board. Some of them are, which we know the boards do it, reviewing corporate strategy, reviewing risk policy, reviewing annual budgets, but this now they have to do it, you know. Business reviewing business plans, setting performance objectives. So many companies don't do it in a codified manner. Monitoring, overseeing major capital expenditure, acquisitions and divestment, monitoring effectiveness of corporate governance and planning for the succession. And of the 9 key functions, these are important. And then there are 14 other responsibilities granted to the board. So tomorrow if you are a member of a board, maybe independent director or non-independent director, you cannot say that I didn't know these. Becoming an independent director, and I have been one for many years on many companies, I have no question, I am not on any one now. For the simple reason that it's so difficult for one to be there and expectations are so high and good to expect, but in real life, situations may be starkly different from company to company, from size to size, entity to entity, people to people. This is standard code for all. This is like a Bible or a Gita, even though it gives you dharma, but whether you live as per dharma every day, and there are violations. In fact, the large companies, I see that we are continuously after them on so many things. We have done so many checklists and tick them out. Because so many things have come. Not only close, but the whole company law. Compliance became a big burden, and but if it achieves finally, and then there are some benefits to the company. Among the 14 responsibility, provide strategic guidance, set a corporate culture, act on a fully informed basis. Actually, the boards act never in fully informed basis. You are always in a dark, in so many situations. In good faith, with due diligence and care. So, it's very difficult. Good faith, diligence, care. If you follow this properly, otherwise, one more law has come. Encourage training of directors, high and ethical standards, and independent judgment. On the board, I am there, Jayantbhai also there, I have a view, he has a view, I have to exercise independent judgment from your view. So those responsibilities are now given. So this is the composition of board. Below you will find the whole-time directors, right hand side independent directors, and left hand side non-executive directors. So you have 3 types: independent, non-independent, and whole-time directors. And about 4 rounds are 4 committees of the board. Audit committee, risk management committee, nomination and remuneration committee, and stakeholder relationship committee.